Bonjour, ladies and gents, I'm Justinfinity. You know, society in the West is pretty fucking stupid. Why? Because representation. In today's media, stupid people demand something in the entertainment industry that represents only one group of people and not everyone, just to push their own agendas. From the cancer that is identity politics, stupid people wear it like a medal of honor and shun those that challenge their ideas. Any media that embraces them for the sake of representation rather than focusing on making something good in the long run is the fatal flaw that the majority of media suffer from nowadays.
Social justice, 1, 2, 3. I wanna be PC. It's just the way to be for me and you. Your hateful slurs are through.
I call woo-woo on you.
We'll fight until you're PC black and blue. We are language police, fighting bigotry. Hurtful words can suck our turds, cause it's PC for me.
And you.
Yeah!
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, PC.
So why am I bringing this up of all things? Because writers and filmmakers, mainly from Hollywood, have mistaken representation for relation. When it comes to writing a story and characters, they focus on the minor things like skin color, gender, sexual orientation, among others, rather than writing characters that we can connect with. As you can see, the definition of representation is mostly political, while the definition of relation means a logical or natural association between two or more things, relevance of one to another, and a connection, and in the case of storytelling, the act of telling or narrating. Some of the material I've reviewed prior are good examples of relation. Oh what? That ain't enough? You think I can't bring up any more characters that we can relate to and connect with? Well, I'm here to prove you wrong. This is WataMote. WataMote, also known as No Matter How I Look at It, It's You Guys' Fault I'm Not Popular, is a slice-of-life comedy anime that tells the story of how life doesn't always go your way, especially in high school. It's even worse if you're a shut-in who lacks in real social skills and has little to no friends. The sheer irony of it is amazing, since I was like that in high school, and I can relate to the main character because of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's jump right into it.
Here we have a particular girl, an unpopular girl, and her story that really doesn't matter.
Those opening lines become important later. We follow the adventures, or rather misadventures, of a girl named Tomoko Kuroki in her first year of high school. She believes that she would become popular in this part of her life because she had been thorough in a series of visual novels and dating sims where the maiden develops a relationship with a male character. But that isn't the case with reality, so she does anything she can to be noticed by her peers in a positive light. Up until the last few episodes of the series, the majority of the show is her trying to achieve that. You may think that's about it in terms of the story, but it's how she goes about it that makes it interesting, ironic, and just fucking hilarious. When she attempts to socialize, change her appearance, and impress her peers, she ends up failing miserably. I will have to say that episode 10 is the most depressing and solemn out of the entire series, and that's where the interesting arc starts coming into play where Tomoko grows regardless of failing to fit in. But I'll get to that in the next category. WataMote gives us an interesting story and a character we can relate to, as well as giving us some good comedy along the line. I mean, yeah, there are moments where it can make you cringe, but there is intentional meaning with it. It is proud to be a cringe comedy, especially when you learn about who the main character is as a person. We are introduced to the main character, Tomoko Kuroki, a socially awkward teenage girl trying desperately to fit in, but failing miserably. Now, how do we relate to Tomoko? How is she a character we can connect with? Now, I know everyone is not introverted like she is. You either know someone who is or was, or you were an introvert at one point. Or maybe you still are, I don't know. But considering what our generation is now, and with the power of the internet, I think we can relate to Tomoko in some way. That's kind of the reason why she exists, and sure, there are characters that we can connect with better in that aspect, but I'll get to that some other time. Some people have criticized the show for her not really progressing as a character. She doesn't change drastically, which I would argue that's actually the point. Granted, most of the comedy is centered around Tomoko trying and failing, but there is more to her character. You see, this is someone who suffers from severe social anxiety. One aspect that is constant that gets us to understand her is by showing us that she has a better outlook on life and the real world. She has her perceptions of what people might think of her, overreacting to what the outcome is, and even some small and trivial things.
Huh? It's not here! My umbrella's not here! Why? Don't tell me. Someone stole it! So there's someone in this school who'd steal an umbrella when it's pouring rain outside. And that jerk goes about his day without a care in the world, all while playing innocent. And even though he's a worthless piece of crap, he still has tons of friends. He just lives his perfect life, not caring at all that the helpless victim has to go home in the rain and get soaked. It's infuriating. I want to kill him. I want to make him suffer and die. I'll kill every last person who ever stole an umbrella. Oh, it's over there.
And before we get to how Tomoko grows, I want to talk about two characters she interacts with. This is her younger brother, Tomoki. Tomoko intrudes in his room at the start of the series to ask for advice and strike up conversations with him every day. Tomoki is often very annoyed at Tomoko's odd behavior, and they tend to get into petty fights. But despite those struggles, he still cares for her as a sibling should. Then we have Tomoko's best friend, Yu.
No, not you! You! You know, say!
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
In middle school, Yu starts off just like Tomoko in terms of her appearance. But when she enters high school with a huge upgrade, Tomoko is taken aback at it, even growing jealous of her sexy physique and having perverted thoughts. Hell, it's even worse when she hears she has a boyfriend.
I can't believe I was upset over something so small. I mean, it was just my first fight with my boyfriend. I won't let it keep me down. And now that I think about it, our first fight could make a good memory.
It's all right. You're the only thing I need in the world.
Despite Yu having changed since middle school, she still considers Tomoko her best friend and is still into the same interests as her, like anime.
So, are you still into watching anime and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess.
Really? Oh, that's great. I don't have anyone else I can talk to about that kind of stuff. Have you seen any good shows lately?
That's right! She may look a little different, but Yu-chan is still Yu-chan. She's still my friend, and she's still just like me. This season, there are a lot of anime aimed at moe pigs.
Oh, really?
I heard they can only make slice-of-life shows because regulations are so strict now.
That's crazy.
But they're not all total crap. This show, called EFB, is kinda,
Uh-huh.
The interactions that Tomoko has with these characters are pretty fun to watch, and it shows that Tomoko can still open up to someone she can trust, and they do their best to help her out. So now we come to how Tomoko grows as a character despite her failures to fit in. Here's where we get into spoiler territory. Skip to this part of the video if you don't want to hear them. If you don't care, proceed anyway. 3, 2, 1 now. In episode 11, Tomoko bumps into a girl named Imai. She sees Tomoko's hand bleeding and does what any kind person would do by taking her to the nurse. Out of the many interactions that Tomoko has with people, Imai is the one who is the most kindest. She opens up to her and helps her out. When it comes to Tomoko, having social anxiety can be pretty hard when interacting with someone. You can open up to them for a bit, but your self-consciousness can pull you back to being insecure and distant from others. However, Imai overcomes that distance and leaves a big impact on Tomoko that gives her real lasting change in her life. You see, at the end of the school festival they were having, Imai puts on a bear suit and gives Tomoko a balloon and a sweet, affectionate hug. Tomoko was surprised, sure, but she accepts it anyways. She was able to separate Imai's act of kindness from the anxiety of interacting with society. Then, in the ending credits for the episode, Tomoko carries the balloon when she walks back home and heads inside. It is a piece of Imai's influence that shows us that she is worthwhile as a person. Because of Imai's affection and kindness, Tomoko grows as a character. In the last episode, she finally adapts to her usual daily routine without having to be bitter and worrying too much, because it would end up destroying her life in the end. Sure, she can still be awkward and struggle a little bit when she interacts with people, but she doesn't harp on it anymore. It just becomes normal to her now. Lastly, the opening lines in the series are repeated at the end. At the first episode, the lines came off as condescending and insulting, that we shouldn't waste our time with this character. But when you really think about it, it has a more positive message. This story about Tomoko's struggles to fit in and interact with society and her self-loathing doesn't really matter, because it is over. Many of us go through this in our lives, and we eventually learn that it doesn't matter in the end. It is a phase in life that we can get over and move on. That is how we grow as people.
If that message isn't subtle and powerful enough, then I don't know what is.
From the start, WataMote looks like your typical slice-of-life anime, but there is more to the presentation. It executes a relatable character's perspective of the world very well. Whether the situations be awkward, embarrassing, or frustrating, we enter into Tomoko's psyche. This is where the creativity comes into play. Various animation styles come in from different colors and lighting, not to mention the amount of visual references from different material like Ghost in the Shell, Whisper of the Heart, Akira, and even the old 4:3 aspect ratio for late 90s anime that aired on old TVs. Tomoko's gloomy looking character design stands out from the background characters, since it kind of looks like how she sees society for the majority of the series. I can even praise the amount of time put into the facial animation for her in the comedy.
Seriously, you can make a bunch of jokes out of the faces she makes in the series. Examples like...
Fear my chameleon eyes! When you try to be nice, but life keeps testing you.
Forever alone!
That look when you join the dark side.
And let's not forget the classic, autistic screeching. Granted, humor is subjective, but for me, a lot of these aspects do play the comedy off pretty well, while some can be a bit cringeworthy. As I said before, I think the cringe is intentional considering we're looking at this girl's socially awkward life. There is meaning with the comedy when you learn about who this character is.
The soundtrack fits pretty well with what you're expecting out of a slice-of-life anime. And we not only have that, but also music that fits pretty well with what goes on in Tomoko's head.
At first, it can be calm. You feel like that you can just relax without a care in the world, and then all of a sudden, BOOM! Intensity! Whoa! Crazy bullshit all around you! Ah!
If you ask me, the soundtrack has great variety when it comes to that. We even got a badass opening theme song and a calm, down-to-earth ending theme that sets the mood for not just the series, but the character as well. These songs belong to Tomoko when you look at the lyrics for them. Next, we got the voice acting, and we got another great English dub from Sentai Filmworks. To add to the roster of great English performances from Monica Rial, we have her doing the voice of Tomoko, and she really pulls off the geeky shut-in character very well. Then we have David Matranga doing a good job as the gloomy, bitter, but still caring brother in Tomoki.
I don't know what you need me for. Can't you just talk to your friends instead?
Do you think I have any?
Everyone has to have at least one friend, even the freaks like you.
A fine young man like yourself who's been starting forward on the soccer team since his second year knows how to pay a compliment.
What's she being such a kiss-ass for all of a sudden?
And lastly, we have Emily Neves doing a good job as the cute and caring Yu Naruse.
Makochi, I had a lot of fun with you today. Thank you so much for showing me around.
No problem. I had a lot of fun too.
Well, I'll call you soon, okay?
Sure.
So overall, the music and sound are very well done. WataMote, in my opinion, is actually better than some people give it credit for. It's a fantastic anime that puts us into the perspective of a character who is believable and relatable. It's funny, charming, and gives us an important, subtle message for people who lack in real social skills. The animation is creative, a lot of the comedy hits bullseye, the story is very well done, and the soundtrack and dub work are really good.
With that said and done, I'm going to give WataMote the S rank, with the stupendous seal of approval. It's available on Blu-ray in Sentai Filmworks' new streaming service, HiDive, so check it out if you have the chance. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to wallow in misery because of how much of a lonely shut-in I am. Nah, just kidding. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to enjoy life to the fullest, and so should you. This is Justinfinity. Thank you all so much for watching, and au revoir. Bonjour, ladies and gents. Did you like the video? Do you want to stay up to date on anime and video game reviews as well as comedy skits and voice reels? Then be sure to hit the subscribe button and make sure to click on the bell icon so that's why you're notified on when I upload my next video. Also, follow me on Twitter and Gab at Justinfinity93. Both contain shitpost and content NSFW. If you want to support the channel, consider donating to my Patreon page for just $1 a month. Be sure to share my content wherever you can because I make videos that are worth your time. I know with a lot of support, I can make more videos at a greater pace. Merci beaucoup et au revoir.